Good evening all and welcome to episode 85 of the 3 for 1 Sky Fantasy Podcast by fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. My name is Fergi and I'm joined as usual by my co-host Paul McAnulty. Paul, how was your Sky weekend?
Pretty average. Again, I think Fergi, yes, it was going really well until those that left Son in and transferred Kane out, obviously reaped the rewards yesterday. But yeah, I think I had improved my rank going into the Spurs game yesterday, and then when Kane scored, I went up to like maybe around 30th.
Nice.
And then when Son's first goal went in, I dropped down to the 36th, 37th, and then what's it, 42nd just now, I think.
That kind of low-owned, explosive return like that can be season defining, can't it? Both for people who own him, and both for those who don't as well. It's that kind of, I think he was like 22% owned or something in the top 1K, which is just enough if you own him to shoot you up the ranks. And he's the kind of player for those of us who don't own him that know we probably should have him, but just can't squeeze him in our teams, which we mentioned a week or two ago, how they priced him well enough for us to have to make a decision. And I think it's season defining because I didn't have him either. And I've been trying to crawl my way back after the top 100. I think I got to about 130th yesterday. Kind of same as you, really small gains, and then that Son, haul just smashed you back down to 163rd. So I keep yo-yoing a bit like you. I think you keep yo-yoing between 30th and 50th. I'm yo-yoing between 130th and 170th, and it's just so hard to make gains. But
I'd say I didn't use a transfer, so I've got that benefit, but I can't imagine many transfers having been used at the weekend. I think some will get used tonight, but
it wasn't massively obvious on the weekend, was it? The way the fixtures fell and everything wasn't massively obvious, but yeah, we move. Only a few weeks left, Paul. For any new watchers and listeners, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss our podcasts or live streams. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. Welcome, and we hope you have had a lovely bank holiday. Gordon Hamilton is in. Ian Parron has just got back from a lovely but cold weekend in Torquay for this. He's come up early to join, and Gordon is also taking a break from studying for my final exam tomorrow, so making an impact, Paul. We're getting people home from holidays, stopping exams. Get back, Gordon, straight after this. We'll try and do a short one for you. David Baxter's in. Metallica, Kippy, Daniel Barnes, Cian McKenna said, so who is ready for Ronaldo hat-trick later? I'm sure we will touch on that in a bit. Steve Cheek, Liam Dorian, Brownie, Benny Blanco, Steve Cheek again, Matt Woolley, Ben McCrum, Keith Ledger. I can't go through everyone, but absolutely great to have you all with us. Lots of people saying, so Steve Cheek, Son captain for me, go on my son. And Daniel Barnes and Metallica, Son is killing me. Son really fails to kill my rank. He's been absolutely insane these last few weeks. He's definitely defined people's seasons for sure. Today, we're going to have a look at the key points from the weekend just gone and the updated top 1K ownership. We will look at the updated average transfers. We will also preview this evening's match. Paul has done some analysis for those of us potentially thinking of using a precious transfer and next weekend's fixtures before we take on Twitter questions, look at the updated mini leagues and the overall leaderboard as the end begins to draw ever closer. So first on the weekend, we've already mentioned Heung-min Son with another beast of a haul, 21 points. Jordan Pickford, who pulled out some outstandings. I don't know if you've seen that one save Paul he made when he was diving the wrong way. That was absolutely awesome. Nathan Ake, 14. Danny Ings, 13. Welbeck, 13. Diaz, 13. And Rob Holding, 12. So some low-owned players in there. What were your key takeaways from the weekend?
Do you know, for those that have got a few transfers left and they're looking for an interesting differential, but it seems weird saying this because earlier on in the season he was so highly owned, but going for Ruben Diaz is either a part of your double up and even a triple up. City don't play until Sunday next weekend and Chelsea play on Saturday, as do a host of other teams. So moving off a player on Saturday for Diaz, even if you've already got two City defenders, like if you've got Cancelo and Laporte, that could be a differential in itself. And then if you're captain on your effective ownership's 400% on defence, I think that could be a really smart move for those that have still got a few a few transfers left to burn.
If Man City get through the Champions League this week, do you think it would still be that many, or do you think they will still share minutes with players like Ake? I know Stones is out, but he may be back.
Well, yeah, I was thinking if Stones is still out, it's always that thing about playing two left-footed centre halves that some managers, or maybe that's a myth, but you hear it in analysis threads quite a bit about managers not favouring two left-sided defenders when picking. When playing four at the back. So I don't know. I still think Ruben Diaz will play. He might miss one game till the end of the season, but I fancy him to score well from now until the end.
Another player I fancy to score well, as long as he doesn't get banned for chucking a flare back into the crowd. Richarlison is in there, 9.1 million. They've got some spanking fixtures, and he seems to be their main man at the moment. I'm talking about a complete sort of differential. We did have a question, didn't we, about some differentials. Everton have got plenty of games. He's on penalties, we know as well. I think he could be another good pick. Those who are specifically looking for a differential. The fixtures are actually not as bad as I thought. There's been a lot of talk that Burnley's fixtures have been a far better than Everton's, which they may be a bit better, but Everton's are pretty decent. Let's have a quick look. Leicester away, which we know is not too bad. Watford, home to Brentford, home to Palace, and away to Arsenal. Not that bad, and they're scrapping for their lives, aren't they? So chuck that one in there. What does this mean for ownership? So Mohamed Salah still top, 93.5, Cancelo 88.8, Pope 76, Kane just 68 now, Van Dijk 65. Going down the list, as we mentioned, Heung-min Son in just 22.3% of teams in top 1K, and that would have been lower yesterday because you would guess people would have had him and captained in from lower top 1K. So what's your kind of thinking around the ownership at the moment, Paul?
Like those there was a master stroke for those that went for Joe Matip. I think like 8.4 million, just like it's 25% owned now, and he's just matching Van Dijk and Trent more so than Robertson for value, just insane value. Do you know when people talk about what changes I would make to the Sky game, like what changes would people make to the Sky game for next season? For me, I would have backup player or who's perceived as backup players to players in positions as priced the same as them, or just shorter than it, because maybe my tip's a bad example of that because he's so 25% for what value you're getting out of him is really, really lowly owned. But if we had went just for an overhaul just now, I think my tip's ownership would be like 90%.
Yeah, no, he's definitely. Apologies, Paul. Go on.
No, sorry. If you look at Laporte and you look at Rudiger, like again, if Rudiger hadn't had that injury, his ownership would be way higher as well.
Say that I brought in Matip a couple of weeks ago, and obviously he's done really well for me. But because I haven't got the double up, I'm not making any ground anywhere because I went for Chelsea's extra fixtures, of which they've got. Is it one left now of that kind of cluster of four? Which is on Saturday, isn't it? But it hasn't paid off yet. It still might, but it hasn't yet. Need Chelsea to give whoever they play next weekend a bit of a spanking, but I can't see it the way they're playing at the moment, and they look a bit ropey at the back as well, don't they? So it all looked great on paper. It hasn't really worked. Let's look at the average transfers remaining. So this was as of Friday. And the top 10, 3.1, top 100, 3.5, top 1,000, 4, and the top 5,000, 4.3. Crazy to see these numbers now, haven't there, since we track this whole season, and the fact they're so low now. I've got 3 left, feeling very exposed. I would love to have 5 or 6 to be able to attack, but I think my season may just be done now. I'm not sure. In terms of I went quite heavy in on Chelsea. Obviously hasn't worked out. But
they still have the fixtures. Like, I know they've not been playing particularly well, but they've still got the fixtures till the end. It's one of those ones where I feel if you hop off Chelsea now, there's a good chance you could could get stung because
right.
people with no transfers that have done that will keep them in, obviously, and they're still hitting passes. Like, well, Thiago Silva still hit passing bonus at the weekend, so you could see him a couple of clean sheets and passing bonus in all the games, still getting 30 points out of the next 4 games potentially.
Yeah, and they're a funny team, Chelsea, I find, in that they tend to bounce back, don't they, from, if they do have a game or two where they've, not done very well, they do tend to bounce back and then have like 4 clean sheets on the bounce. So you're right about the fixtures, and this was part of the reason why we kind of dived in, didn't we? Because apart from, is it the Liverpool game they've got? Apart from that, the fixtures are really, really good. So, yeah, I think, I'll be holding I've got Rudiger and Silva, I'll be holding both. I think I would anyway, as you say, because of the quality and quantity of fixtures regardless. But yeah, without a second Liverpool defender, the way they're playing, and at the moment I've only got one Man City defender as well. It's hard to make any ground at all.
Mason Mount doing a perfect example of what I talk about from that midfield slot. So in his last set of games, 2 points, 13 points, 2 points, 2 points, 25 points, 4 points, 2 points, 2 points, 1 point.
He's been incredibly unlucky as well, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he was unlucky on the weekend. That pass back to Reece James was a pearler.
Hit the post.
Yeah. He's been incredibly unlucky. Mount Toners, I think, and Count the Tell's a bit unlucky. Let's have a look then at the fixtures. So first one, the big one this evening. Apologies if you're listening back to this after the match has started, but obviously a big game this evening for plenty of reasons, but mainly because the ownership of Man United and Brentford players are very, very low. So Paul, what is your take on this game, and who are you targeting?
So there's 4 main options, I think, that people that don't already have a player will look at. Cristiano Ronaldo, Eriksen, Tony and Norgard from Brentford. So Man United's home form, played 18 games this season, won 9 of them, so won 50% of their home games. Their home record is slightly better than their away record. They've only scored 29 goals in that period of time, though, so it's just under a goal and a half a game. Just over a goal and a half a game. And Brentford's away record, they've won 5 out of 17 games, scoring 23 and conceding 30. So they're conceding just under 2 goals per game. Ronaldo started 25 games, 14 at home and 11 away. 119 points he scored in those 14 home games, and only 57 points in the 11 away games that he's played in. So 68% of his points starting games have been in home games, and he's got 6 double-digit returns at home and 2 away. So he is a player that prefers home games. So if you're looking for the most explosive player, I think it goes without saying anyway, but the fact that Man United's at home, even more emphasis on Ronaldo being, if you have excess transfers above average, I still think that he's a go-to person. 8.5 points per game he's averaging at home over that period of time. Looking at Ivan Toney, he's started 28 games this season. He scored 79 points at home and 79 points away. So he's averaging 5.6 points per start, both home and away. He's had 6 double-digit hauls, 3 at home and 3 away. So really for Brentford, and in particular their attacking stats, it doesn't matter if it's a home or an away game. And I looked at Eriksen, but his sample size is a lot smaller because he's only started 6 games. In both his home games, he scored 5 points, and in his away games, he scored 1, 8, 4, and 5. But he's only got one shooting tier. So I wouldn't be bringing in Eriksen. I don't think. I kind of already rules him out for me. And then Norgard was the last player I looked at. So I looked at his stats a little bit differently. So he's got the most successful tackles out of every player in the league this season. He's played 9 games against top 6 opposition and 23 against non-top 6 opposition. In my head, it makes sense for those players that get tackling bonus to get it more against big teams and small teams, but I had never really proved it out before. Norgard's scoring 5.1 points per game against top 6 teams, whereas he's only scoring 3.3 points per game against non-top 6 teams. So whilst this could actually be a good captaincy day for Norgard, I wouldn't expect much more from the following 3 games afterwards.
Yep.
I think what I conclude in my own head is that if I had excess transfers, so above average, I'd bring in Ronaldo knowing that I was either going to do a daisy chain move or transfer him back out to the player that I was taking out. So Kane or Son, Salah to Ronaldo and then back again. If I was bringing in a Brentford player, it would be Ivan Toney. And because of his home versus away stats being consistent across everything, I would just keep him until the very end.
Fantastic objective analysis there, Paul. I want to ask you a question though, just in terms of, the game and, and people's, looking at kind of opportunities. The opportunity this evening, I think, is quite high. Looking at the ownership of the players. So just for example, my season, 163rd, I want a top 100 finish. I could either use my remaining 3 transfers on getting back to, Laporte, maybe getting Van Dijk, potentially getting Richarlison maybe, or I could gamble on, a Ronaldo Hull, for example, because, his ownership at the moment, 3.3%. I wouldn't have thought that would go up much more than 15 potentially overnight.
Really? I'm thinking as ownership in the top 1K will be about 30 tomorrow.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Do you think the people have got that amount of transfers left?
Yeah, well, I put a poll out. Very, very. I had to Google how to do it because I'd never put a poll out on Twitter before.
Brilliant.
And I think I got over 300 votes on it, and 25% of people that voted said that they were going to have Ronaldo as captain today. So
that's 75 managers. Okay.
But
I get.
But yeah, but if we're doing ownership, I still think that FOMO. I think FOMO. People like this. It's an indicator that good planning people can go without. But I still think that the majority of people get swayed by seeing if a well-known account on Twitter, like if one of us or one of the other content creators put out that they were Captain Ronaldo and that's more widespread, I think that FOMO would strike and that people would make the move as well.
Ian's just put actually in the chat, he said highest opportunity remaining for the entire season to captain a low-owned explosive player, which I kind of get as well. I get the Eriksen. I think that Tony may score more points than Ronaldo until the end of the season. Well,
so I genuinely, honestly would apply this rule in my head, depending on what position I was in. So if I had maybe 3's the cusp, so 3, 4 or more, I would do the Ronaldo move. If I had 2, like if I had 1 or 2 transfers left and I really wanted a player tonight, I would do Tony.
Yeah. It's just a shame that both Liverpool and Spurs play each other, actually, don't they, on Saturday? Because you could get another game out of Ronaldo for Brighton on the same day. You could get a 2-0, but it is kind of in essence using two transfers for one game, which you're potentially putting your season on the light. For those who have got 3 transfers maybe or even 4, you're potentially using half or the majority. In my case, it would be the majority of my transfers just for the thing of one player for a team who are not playing well, playing against a team who are in form in Brentford, in defensive form as well. It has to be said, they're playing incredibly well. With obviously the alternative looking to go for Tony and to leave him in, and then maybe daisying someone else in, or take out a midfielder, maybe a Gallagher or someone like that to get in Tony rather than go for the Kane out. Talking through it like this, it's again, if Ronaldo gets 2 or 3 goals, it could potentially be season defining either way again, couldn't it? Because if you are at the 15, 20, or or you think 30% that don't have him and he banks, then it's in trouble. Or conversely, if you are in that 20, it can fly you up. It's a real tough decision. So you think, Paul, if you've got 3 transfers,
3's maybe with the edge where it's still a probably if I was on 3, but it's all team dependent as well. But if I had 3, it would be a probably, and if I had 4 or more, then I would do it. And if I had 2 or less, I would. And I wanted I wanted a player in tonight, and I was happy removing someone for them. Then I think that I would go to Tony.
Ian says Kane to Ronaldo to KDB to Kane. So you kind of get all those really nice transfers then in between the time that Liverpool play. All that's in the space of 5 days. Looking at it, from Saturday through until the Thursday. That's all in the space of 5 days.
And that's flexible as well, because you could bring in Ruben Diaz or Laporte in as part of that, and then move off another defender to Kane or something like that. So you could vary that up slightly as well, depending if you had KDB already and such like that. So
if you're defending a lead, would you be tempted not to make a transfer this evening?
If I was defending a lead, I would bring in Ronaldo.
You would. You do the coverage.
I think it's the safest. It's the safest move. He's going to be tomorrow. He's going to be the highest owned player in tonight's game, and therefore it's the safest defence move. But again, if you've got 2 transfers, you know that you're going to be bringing back the player that you go out, because this is Man United's last home game. So, and they don't have an extra game in the midweeks as well. So if you're bringing in Ronaldo, it's with a view of taking Ronaldo out, in my opinion. And therefore, that's why I would want at least 3 transfers to be able to do it.
Wondercat Venus, a Ronaldo hat-trick tonight could also be season-destroying. It is. It's an incredibly tough one. We haven't had one like this for a while, have we? With such low ownership. This is the thing. It's the incredibly low owned. It's currently 3% owned.
Yep.
That could absolutely fly. And, he's bagged 2 hat-tricks in the last month.
As I say, of his 14
Spurs and Norwich.
Of his 14 home games in the Premier League, he's had 6 double-digit hauls.
Wowzers, scary. I think I might have to do it. I'm chasing anyway, so I'm going to do it just because even if it goes up to 25-30%, I'm still winning if he does bang. If I don't do it, then like I say, I'm only bringing in boring transfers anyway, so it doesn't seem an awful lot of point. Interesting stuff there, Paul. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think players like Norgard, if you hold Norgard, great, right? But Norgard's probably not a player to bring it. You use a transfer on the season.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly my point. I still think that's some difference, like 5.1 against top 6 teams and 3.3 against non-top 6 teams, because there's no outlier stats there. There's not a hat trick in there that skews the stats. He's only got 1 double-digit haul, and that was away from home as opposed to home. So it's not like that's influencing it any.
First, if he's this price next year, which he obviously won't be, first name on the team sheet next year as an enabler.
He'll be priced about high 7s.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I guess.
Cool. Looking ahead then to the weekend's games. Palace v Watford, 3:00. Chelsea and Wolves, Burnley, Villa, Brentford, Southampton. Do we get to see all these lineups, do we, at 3:00? Is it not an early game? Oh, well, okay. Any idea why there's not an early game?
I'm sure Ian Parrott.
Ian knows.
I'll tell you.
Not an early game. Oh, there's a late game. Brighton and United 5:30, and then Liverpool and Spurs at 7:45.
I assume that's to give more rest period for Liverpool based on
after the Champions League
or something like that.
Okay, cool. Chelsea's last game of that 4 home to Wolves. You've got to, home to Wolves. You've got to hope they should give patient owners returns there. Captain Salah there, Paul?
I will be, and I think that the fact that he got the rest against Newcastle makes me more comfortable holding and captaining Salah without seeing team sheets for Liverpool.
Yeah. I think I'll be on Salah. I had the exact money, so I brought in Havertz, but I'm 0.1 of doing a straight swap Havertz to Cancelo. I would have to do Kane to Ronaldo, but I couldn't get back to Kane then. For my final three, I would have to do Kane to Ronaldo and then Ronaldo onto Son, Havertz onto Cancelo on the Sunday.
That's not. I mean, it's not. It's probably not the worst.
It's not the worst, but not having Kane against Burnley and Norwich is pretty scary as well.
I just think Son's stats at home are so good just now that in the games that you'd be captaining that player, if you had asked me this earlier on in the season, I would have felt the same as you. But now I would feel as comfortable, if not more comfortable, captaining Son in home games than I would Kane.
I suppose as well that, again, like looking at the ownership stuff, again, if you're defending, which obviously you are, you're probably quite happy to sit with Kane because Son, even though Son bangs, he's not going to destroy your rank. He's going to knock you back but not destroy it. Whereas if I do get a bit lucky going Ronaldo and then on to Son, I could get that boost I'm after there. Sunday the 8th, Norwich, West Ham, Leicester, Everton, Arsenal, Leeds, and Man City, Newcastle. Interesting, we don't get to see the Man City lineup. So
yeah, with Walker being injured, I think that nails Cancelo on, and therefore it's not like Man City have nothing to play for, right? They need to win all their games to make sure that they're taking the league title. So, and that they don't have another right back other than Cancelo. Yeah. I think it's again makes it pretty straightforward for me. It's good. Sunday's a good opportunity to use transfers again. Say if Leicester got knocked out, the Europa Conference League this week, this is probably the better time to bring in the Leicester player than it was before. And Maddison, I think the stats would ownership stats would jump up again on Sunday. And like I said earlier, Ian made the point about KDB. I made an argument for Ruben Diaz. I think that there's arguments to bring either one of those two players in on Sunday as well, even without seeing the team sheet. KDB, like Salah, KDB got his rest in the league there, so you fancy that he'll start the majority of the games.
You could also bring in Richarlison as well away to Leicester, who will
Richarlison as well,
who will likely be shattered after another European game. Interesting stuff there. Looking slightly ahead towards next week, we'll obviously touch on this more, but the chat and transfers may kind of overlap. Villa Liverpool on Tuesday, so most people are pretty covered there. Even if Salah doesn't start, which he probably will, most people have got a Liverpool defender. Some have got Coutinho, maybe Ramsey as well. So there's plenty of cover there. Wednesday the 11th, Leeds and Chelsea, Watford, Everton, Leicester and Norwich, Wolves, Man City. You get to see all the lineup, so there's plenty of cover there as well. Would you go for Cancelo there if he starts?
I would be, yeah.
Just trying to think of alternatives. Really, Leicester home to Norwich is quite a nice match, isn't it? It's I suppose if Leicester go out, Vardy starts to play, he could be a really interesting one actually. Even if Leicester go out on Thursday and Vardy starts the 2:00 on the Sunday, which we'd see the lineups for, I think Vardy could be another one. Obviously, he's very expensive, but fixture volume, cracking fixtures as well. That home to Norwich game could be an absolute mauling.
And how bad are Leeds just now? So if you've got Mount or Havertz in your team, they're going to get a haul. Like one of those two is going to get a haul before the end of the season.
I agree.
And fancy against Leeds could be the time as well. So Richarlison, either of the Chelsea attackers that start, Maddison for Leicester, as you said, Vardy, and then you'll see the City lineup. So KDB. Some people might fancy Laporte over Cancelo just with the guarantee of the passing bonus. So there is quite a few options there. I think Cancelo will be the most popular one, but there is an argument to be made elsewhere as well.
And then Spurs and Arsenal then on the Thursday. Most will have Kane or Son. Most have Saka as well, so that will be covered as well. You'll be on Kane, Paul?
Yep, I think so.
Yep.
And unless I daisy chain him out, and if I'm doing that and bringing someone back in, I guess I've got the choice of who I bring back in. So I could bring Son in if I want to use other transfers elsewhere.
Sounds like I may be on Son if I go for Ronaldo this evening. I want Cancelo back, but yeah, let's take.
I don't think that's. As I say, I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, it's not. Let's have a look at a few questions. Alan Tatler, Villa, Leicester, and Everton have 5 games left. Any recommended players to get in? We've touched on this with Leicester and Everton. Any from Villa? I think it's quite hard to get excited with Villa at the moment. They're just not playing well, are they? Really?
No good jump on point either.
No.
Because that Tuesday, their extra games on the Tuesday and against Liverpool, so it doesn't feel like a good entry point anyway.
Yeah.
I think from Villa, if you want to go really outside the box and move away from what others are doing, Ollie Watkins.
Yeah.
They have, as I say, got the fixture volume. He will likely play in all the games. So
he also asks, dare to take out Salah? That is a tough one with him being 90. What was he? 93% owned. Risky, but as long as you know the risks. Do you think he plays every game now? Spurs, Villa, Southampton, Wolves. Do you think he plays every game?
You might get one rest, I think. The problem with Liverpool is that they've got the FA Cup and
final,
they've got and they've got the Champions League. Although, is it a week rest to the Champions League final, or 6 days after the end of the season? So maybe that won't play a factor. But then they are playing the other. That's on the assumption that they progress, and they've got that game this week as well. So yeah, there is a good chance they might get one rest.
I think Amon Tatler's having a really good season as well in the top 100. So I suppose the advice there would be, if you want to maintain your really good rank for mini leagues and that sort of stuff, don't take him out anyway, because he's just as likely to bang in 2 goals and assists, as kind of anyone else. If you do take him out, because obviously every game he plays, he's the overwhelming captain every single time. It only takes him, if he does it once or twice out of his remaining 4 games, bangs in a brace, your rank will very, very likely fall. So as long as you know the risks there.
With Sky being different, it doesn't record your finishes as well. So I know some people use the top 100 in Sky as like a badge of honour. Yeah. I'm not pro or against that. But other than Dan recording it on his spreadsheet and being able to use it in an argument in 3 years' time, if it's you're not winning any cash in any cash leagues, but there is a chance if you went completely out the box to make up that, and that's what's more important to you, then take Salah out and do that. But if there's other reasons, like you're already winning a mini league, like you had said earlier on, Fergi, or if you've still got enough transfers that you can make gains elsewhere, then I probably wouldn't.
Steve Cheek, I guess any moves now depends on City Champions League progression. If they go out surely to load up, I'm personally looking at Jesus and KDB for an attacking double up. We haven't mentioned Jesus really most of the season, because 1, he's been playing outright, 2, he hasn't been playing, and 3, when he has been playing very well, but all of a sudden he seems to hit a bit of form. I think it's 6 in his last 4. Obviously, he had the 4 in 1 game. What are your thoughts on that? If City go out, they're clearly going to play their best team then the last 4 games, aren't they?
It's just really unfortunate that you don't get to see the City lineup against Newcastle for him specifically. As I said earlier, I think KDB plays. If anyone doesn't follow Luke Williams, Disable on Twitter, follow him and look out for his predicted Man City team every week. He's very, very good at predicting who's going to start. That might help you if you're looking to do a transfer, bring in City players without seeing a team sheet on Sunday.
But yeah, they smash everything, don't they? And we're assuming it's going to go down to the wire. I do think Spurs will give him a bit of a game on the weekend. They're attacking really well, and Liverpool. I think we mentioned last week they play this high line, don't they? And but Son's run timing is absolutely exceptional, one of the best in the world. So it's going to be interesting to see how much he gets in behind. I think that he can do some damage. I can see there being a few goals in that game, and maybe I don't know, a 2-1 or a 3-2 or 2-2 or something like that. I think it could be quite close. I think Spurs give him a good game, because City play after them. They've obviously got the advantage, but it's how the cups fall as well, isn't it? Because even if City win the league before the last game of the season, would they play their Champions League final team against Villa last game of the season, or would they completely rest them? Like, each manager is different, aren't they? It's very, very tough to even guess, really. But you have to think, if they go out now against Madrid, they're just going to play their strongest team regardless, aren't they? Martin Beasley says Ronaldo or Ronaldo. Yes, tomorrow, I think, at the moment as it stands. Watch now, we'll do all this, Paul, and he won't even start. But at the moment, if he starts, are we saying Ronaldo, yes, based on on your analysis and your thinking?
For me personally, my team, that'll be yes. And for listeners, I think it's transfer volume dependent on that kind of 2 or under. And if I didn't have a transfer, I'd probably do Tony. And 3-ish, definitely 4 or more, I would do it.
Okay, cool. Tom Hartnell says what to do. He's got 4 transfers left. So there's your answer, Paul. He says, there's your answer, Tom. 4 or more, go for Ronaldo. That's what he says. FPL Foxy, if you have between 3 and 5 transfers left, what moves would you optimally be thinking to maximise points between now and the end of the season?
I think Ian Parron just gave a perfect plan of how you could maximise short-term fixtures from players from top teams to be able to cover your captains and get, say, like high explosive style players from big teams.
Yeah, agree. Are you still on the premium defensive kind of switch around as well?
Well, I've already moved to 5 at the back anyway, so I made the gains by moving to 5 at the back before. I'm probably 1 or 2 transfers short of doing what I was originally thinking of doing, which would have been the additional Man City player in on Sunday, and then having a treble up of Ruben Diaz, Laporte, and Cancelo, which I think's like assuming that Diaz plays the game like the majority. What would it be? 4 games to the end of the season from then. So even if he plays 3, I think he still makes good value on that transfer there.
Yeah. Interesting. Just Jackler says Spurs Liverpool game is easy, 2-0 Liverpool. And Ian Parrin, Spurs attacking really well, Fergie. Didn't trouble scorers in 2 of the last 3 games. I guarantee they'll score against Liverpool, because
is it not about that they perform well in teams that play a high line because they can counter attack?
They do.
And Brighton sit deep, as do Brentford defensively as well.
Exactly.
They were the 2 blanks.
Interesting. I fancy Son ahead of Kane for that game, and for that reason. It's the same against Man City. Every time Son always goes against Man City because the line they play, and he just and he drifts inside. If Matip, well, either Matip or or Konate, Son is just gonna outpace him, right? I think Adam English says pull away is the perfect setup for the Kane Son combo. I expect him to have some joy. I would too. Yeah, I do. I think that Son will get something, or he will at least have a few very good chances. If he doesn't actually score, have a few good chances. But Gordon Bell, tripling up on Chelsea. Why do so many of us do it when it continually backfires? It was pretty obvious, to be fair, and and they seem to do this, don't they, when they do have these kind of run of games that we look at. Any kind of hindsight regret there, Paul? I know you didn't. Obviously Rudiger and Reece James missed the first, didn't they? Otherwise, I think a lot of people would have gone a lot more heavy on them. But
I brought Thiago Silva, who scored 19 points in 3 games.
Yeah,
it's 6.3 average per game for 8.6 million. I think it's, I don't know if the question mark is the block as an overall suggestion, but there's definitely 1 or 2 of them that still give value over that period of time.
Yeah, I think so, and no regrets either. I think it was the right move at the time. If you hadn't have done it, look at Man City last year with that that massive run. It was the correct move. it just hasn't really worked out as we'd hoped. I think we were all hoping for 2 clean sheets out of the 3 games. I think they've had 1, haven't they? But obviously Rudiger and Reece James were injured for that 1 game, who would be the obvious moves as well. Had they have even played in that game where they were injured, you'd have started off with 3 clean sheets immediately, or wherever it was. So I think it's the right move. It didn't work out, but
I've made worse moves.
The opportunity was there, and it was obvious for me. I think it's one of those that if you saw it was there and didn't do it, and they had have done well, it was one where you look at, why didn't I do that? It was so obvious. And it just hasn't worked out. But that's just what it is. Wondercat Venus, how much do you factor in a team players upcoming home and away fixtures when making a transfer decision? I've constantly got 25% more points from home fixtures than away, but really take account if good fixtures are home or away when making a transfer. Interesting point there. What do you think about that, Paul?
I don't factor in it as much as what I probably should do. So I think I've always been Burnley. We're notorious for being good defensively at home and not so much away. So when I was targeting players for captaincy in seasons gone by, that was something that I would factor for certain teams. And I think like the Son stats at home, even though he got the hat-trick away at Villa, Son's stats at home are so much better than his away stats as well. So I factored it in a little bit. Maybe I should consider doing a bit more. Maybe I'll do something pre-season, have a look at the season gone by and come to some conclusions and think about how I can use that in some of my thought process in the future.
I think I used to do it a lot more with home fixtures, and I've always been a fixtures person. I've always been a home fixtures person. They're the ones I always look at. But I think Man City and Liverpool, the way they're playing at the moment, there's never really been 2 teams dominating so much as there. I don't think since the inception of the Premier League. We've had kind of one team running away with it, but to have 2 teams with so many great players and great options in. I don't think the home and away really matter. I gotta be honest, I thoroughly expected Newcastle to put up, a really, give Liverpool a really stern test on the weekend, and they just didn't. I think a few were saying as well they expected Leeds to give City a tough time on the weekend, and they just didn't. It just seems that Liverpool and City just win 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, wherever it is, home or away, and it doesn't seem to matter. They're so far ahead of them in terms of footballing quality and competitiveness that I don't think it matters as much anymore as much as it used to. Interesting, I think it does for certain teams. What you mentioned earlier, Ronaldo at home, just as an example. But a couple of weeks ago, we were saying Son at home, and then he scored a hat-trick away. So these, I don't think it matters for the top teams anymore, does it? Or as much as it used to anyway. That's purely observation. I haven't got any kind of data to, back that up. But, Frank, FF Stuff is in the chat. Disaster for me last week with no Son and Kane. Frank, what are you doing? Flipping heck. No Son and no Kane. Amandeep says Gomez against Son in a tactical battle. And Ian says home and away only work short-term transfers. Teams will play a similar amount of each, medium to long-term. Ben McCrum, if you were getting rid of one of Rudiger and Silva, who would it be? It's an interesting one. I'd probably say Silva now, personally. I think Rudiger's back and he's going to play every game. And more attacking threat.
Yeah, I would have said that. But I'm just not sure that when Chelsea nail down third, that it just doesn't look to the players that he's going to be playing next season as best he can. And Silva, is Silva playing next season? I know he's 37 now. Has he got another year? He's definitely not out of contract, right?
I don't think so.
So the assumption is that he'll be at Chelsea next year, especially when they can't sign anyone. And if he's under contract, you've got to think Silva will play next season, and therefore, I don't know. It's very difficult, and I think with Rudiger leaving puts a little bit of uncertainty in my head that he plays the last games, especially if Tuchel's not happy with the performances.
Interesting. For reasons unknown, says he has had enough of Mendy. Best goalkeeper, 7.3 or less for the duration. I'd be tempted to keep, I got to be honest. Paul, any obvious moves there for a keeper?
If I owned him, I would keep him as well. But if you are adamant on getting him out, I would move to either Pickford or Schmeichel on Sunday and maximise. You get 5 for 3 on fixtures that way.
I'd go for Pickford. They're scrapping for their life, Everton. They need to keep clean sheets, as they did yesterday, just to have a chance, really, don't they? So, yeah, I'd go for Pickford personally. It's a good shout. But I would keep Mendy and use the transfer elsewhere, I've got to be honest. Paul at Sky Player in FPL. Is Paul covering tonight's game with a transfer? Asking for a friend who is only 5 points behind him on the leaderboard. Sounds like he is. He's going for Ronaldo, Paul, just so you know. And Darren S. from Sunday the 8th of May. Which midfielder scores the most points apart from KDB? Interesting question there.
If Leicester go out of the Europa Conference League on Thursday, I don't even know where the final of that is. I'll still say I'll go Maddison.
Yeah, it's hard. He's just had this nagging little injury, haven't he, Maddison? I don't know. I was going to say Gordon, but he's got the fixtures, but I don't think he's going to score the most points. It's a tough question, that one actually. Yeah, I'm going to answer. I'd probably have to go Maddison as well, but not with a lot of conviction, really. I'd much prefer to go like a 5-3-2 or something if you can, rather than go for a midfielder there, Darren. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay, quick look at my team. I have Pope in goals, Rudiger, Cancelo. Oh, I have Cancelo. Oh, Laporte I took out. Oh, I can go back to Kane if I wanted to then. Look at that. All the way through, I didn't think I've had Cancelo, and I've actually got him.
It's like it was meant to be.
What an idiot. Rudiger, Cancelo, Matip and Silva. Coutinho, disappointing. I captained him Saturday. Tried to go for it. He rewarded me a few weeks. Remember when he... I think it was in like FPL Gameweek 28 when he got the couple of goals, wherever it was, and I captained him that day. Really rewarded me. Didn't do it on Saturday. Saka, Gallagher, and Havertz, Salah, and Kane. Got 3 transfers left. Incredibly boring moves. Hoping that I can get a bit of something from Chelsea. Still, having the 2 defensive Chelsea players there. Now I can do Kane to Ronaldo, which I'll probably do, I think, this evening, and then make a decision on Saturday, as to whether go back to Kane and Son or whether stay with Ronaldo for the extra game. It's a tough one because it is against Liverpool. I do fancy Spurs to do well, but Ronaldo away to Brighton, probably equal amounts. An equal chance of scoring, I think, for all those players there. The reason I like to hold on as well is because you never know with injuries, do you? You may, either Kane or Son may get injured in the Liverpool game, for example, or in training leading up to the Thursday game against Arsenal. You get to see the lineups then against Arsenal.
If you're not going to captain them,
yeah, probably be tempted to leave it.
I prefer if you're not going to captain them, I prefer the play Ronaldo against Brighton and then bring him back in on the Thursday.
I'll probably do that, and then think Havertz to probably Laporte on Sunday. I might wait until the midweek. I'm not sure because I don't see the lineups on the Sunday. But yeah, I'm gonna end up with a very drab and boring 5-3-2, incredibly template. I'll have Pope. I'll have a back 5. I'll have Coutinho, Saka, and Gallagher, Salah, and either Kane or Son to finish the season. Which I think top 100 has evaded me now. But decent season all in all. So, haven't really my big moves aside from the Coutinho one haven't really worked out, but still 150th ish, hopefully gonna not too bad. Let's look at the Four Nations League. My team My second team is in 6th place, 3140. Dan, 3167. Liam Dorian, 3171. And my first team, 3173. Only 6 points between the three of us. The chase is on for the bronze medal there. Paul, after all these weeks, most of the season, I think, isn't it? Most of the season, you've been top, and you finally fallen behind Ian. Only by 12 points, so it's going to be a really interesting finish of the season. Got the English flag on screen for the first time in a long time. I know how much you love that English flag, Paul. Love looking at that, don't you? But 12 points. Well done, Ian. Very well played. In the Hub £500 League, 10th place Neil Durant, 9th Ian Parrin, 8th Anup, who was in the chat, 7th Maurice Wiggs, 6th Keir McKenna, 5th Peter Gilderdale, 4th Billy Fraser, 3rd and 2nd Kieran Sutton. Well played, Kieran. And top of the shop still Liam Stevens, 3-3-5-8, got a 63-point lead in that. So looking good for that, Liam. Very well done. And finally, a look at the overall leaderboard, which is really, really hotting up. 10th Kieran Sutton. Paul.
Some wild swings up there at the weekend with Son.
Definitely. Well, yeah, I'll touch on that now. 9th, Alistair Simpson. 8th, Andrew Wright. 7th, Byron Radford. 6th, Thomas Kucharski, who was 3rd. 5th, Neil Curra. 4th, Mark Wisdish. 3rd, Perry Hart. 2nd, Dave Perrin. Simple Gull Chubbers. Captain Son, we think, he's absolutely flown up to 2nd, and only 15 points off Liam Stevens, Frog Skills FC. Only, 38 points between 1st and 4th. Really going to be an incredibly interesting finish to that. Best of luck to everyone this evening, no matter what you do. Really hope, quite a few of these guys listen to this podcast or stream or Hub members. The very, very best of luck to all of you there this evening. And that is it for us for this evening. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. I'm off to transfer in Ronaldo, I think, Paul. I think there's enough upside there, isn't there? Thank you all those who caught us live on the stream. Thank you so much for those who are watching back, and those listening. Your continuous support, as usual, is much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, Paul, for all your brilliant insight and thoughts, as usual. Where can people find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty 1, MCANULTY.
And my Twitter handle is at FFH_Fergi. Drop us both a follow. So this podcast and video will be in the Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel. And also available on all major podcast platforms. If you liked what you watched, please click the like button. Remember to subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions and leave some comments. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok are at FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky. Please drop us a follow and feel free to ask any questions. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta-Stats, top player team reveals, and much, much more. Best of luck to everyone this evening. For those who are jumping onto Ronaldo, we'll be backing him for a brace or a hat-trick. Could be a season changer. We will be back next week, looking ahead to Sky Gameweek 40. Only a few episodes left, Paul. Only a few episodes left. The end is nigh. Stay safe, all, and goodbye for now.